So I'm pretty excited for Demon's Souls.
God, be happy.
Oh my goodness!
Oh!
The Souls series has become absolutely massive, with Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, and Dark Souls 3 selling 27 million units worldwide. And while I don't believe that sales data is officially out there for Demon's Souls, it definitely didn't sell that much. 5 months after the game's release, it sold 250,000 copies in North America, which isn't bad, but it's definitely not Dark Souls good. But Demon's Souls itself is Dark Souls good. This game started the entire series, and while a few elements are a bit outdated, the game is still so much fun to play, and I cannot believe it's finally being remastered. But this isn't a simple remaster. If anything, this is a full-fledged remake. So I'll keep talking in a moment, but first let's watch a side-by-side comparison with the brand new remake trailer with the original game. Keep in mind for most of this trailer the original version is CG, but not all of it, so we'll get a bit more in depth about this in just a moment. Anyway, here's the comparison. Alright, so it looks pretty amazing, right? And while the PlayStation 3 version is largely CG, I have to ask myself, is the PlayStation 5 version? Because what we're seeing here is from the opening cinematic, but the quality of these visuals is so similar to the in-engine cutscenes and the actual gameplay that I wonder if this is actually pre-rendered. It most likely is, but it could at the very least be an engine, which is a massive jump from the purely CG cinematics we're seeing on PlayStation 3. Now we're about to see actual gameplay in just a moment. All the boss cinematics from Demon's Souls are entirely in engine, there is no CG going on. And I'd imagine the same is true for the PlayStation 5 versions. What you're seeing right here is likely actual gameplay. Now the trailer does go back and forth between the boss cinematics and the opening, like this right here is the opening. And we're back to actual gameplay, so this is the Tower Knight, one of the first bosses from Demon's Souls. We've got the Reaper from, I think, was it 2.4? Then we've got the Flame Lurker looking absolutely gorgeous in this new revision. And then the Dragon God, which was a very big pushover as an actual boss, but in the opening, pretty darn menacing. And they actually provided some in-game shots of pure gameplay as well, so let's take a look at these. Thankfully, in Demon's Souls you can turn the HUD off, so comparing these wasn't too tricky, but the actual jump in quality is insane. Now I have seen some people a bit concerned that the changes to atmosphere may be taking away from Demon's Souls, and I think I have to see more myself to jump to that conclusion, but the actual quality of these visuals is definitely more in line with Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne, especially here. Look at this jump! Everything's just sort of so brown and muddy on the PlayStation 3, but PS5 not only evolves the design of Vanguard, but the dungeon itself looks so much more gloomy and atmospheric. So I can understand like the Tower Knight looking very different here, like this is much more vibrant than it is on PlayStation 3. But as a whole, the visuals, I think, if anything, more oppressing than the original Demon's Souls. It really is on a scene-by-scene basis, but no matter where you look, there is so much more detail than the original PlayStation 3 version. I actually struggled to place this shot right here, so special thanks to Illusory Wall on Twitter, and there's a link to their tweet in the description below. But look how different this is. Everything is so much more detailed. Like on PlayStation 3, every segment of this wall is basically identical. On the PlayStation 5 though, everything is so specifically and miraculously handcrafted. There is so much detail. There's nature growing on the walls, there's rubble on the ground everywhere. Everything is so much more detailed than the PlayStation 3 could ever dream of rendering. Like, in this shot right here, there are so many new details. There's like a flag in the corner, there's vines growing on all the pillars, and the ground itself on the PlayStation 3 original is empty, whereas on PS5 you can tell this place has not been entered for years. It's so unkept, and it kind of gets rid of that sort of clean feeling of the original Demon's Souls. We haven't seen areas like the mines yet, but they are going to have a total facelift on PlayStation 5, because on PS3, they're basically just these sort of muddy, dark corridors, and I can't wait to see how they evolve it on PS5. It's worth noting as well that Demon's Souls on PlayStation 5 has both a fidelity mode and a performance mode, and while the numbers aren't out there yet, I'd imagine it would be 4K 30fps and maybe like 1440p 60fps. We'll see what they go with, but From Software games usually are not optimized. Demon's Souls itself has so many frame rate dips, like look how much it dips right here. And a lot of their other games like Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 have frame pacing issues, so a technically sound Demon's Souls is just a dream come true. Bluepoint of course previously did games like Uncharted the Nathan Drake Collection, Gravity Rush Remastered, and the Shadow of the Colossus remake, but this Demon's Souls remake is such a step above everything else they've done so far. It's insane just how big of a jump this is. I am wondering about gameplay though. While I think Demon's Souls still holds up really well, it's definitely not a balanced game. Magic builds are basically the easy mode of this game, so if you choose magic you can kind of just stand afar and just take out most of the enemies. And the enemies in this game are not smart. What are you doing here, guys? You're all doing it. So it's so easy to exploit this game. And certain elements like fall damage just come across rather clunky compared to Dark Souls, and you also can't roll in multiple directions when locking on, which is something the original Dark Souls also did, but Dark Souls Remastered fixed. So it'd be great to sort of see that kind of make its way into the remake of this, and honestly there's a lot more they can do. One big thing they can do is bring back some cut content. Now you'll notice at the start of the trailer they show off this snowy area, which is also in the PlayStation 3 version, but the snow itself is de-emphasized, and they've really emphasized it on PS5. But here's the thing, there is no snowy area in Demon's Souls. Well, not in the full release anyway. Basically the way Demon's Souls works is it's kind of like Mega Man, where you have like a bunch of levels to choose from, and you can tackle any of them in any order you want. But one of them is inaccessible. So you basically come up to these sort of arch tablets and you teleport to a certain world, but one of them was crumbled away because it was too dangerous. And in the files of the game, it's basically this land of giants, and it's a snow area, which lines up with what they're showing here. But it's so curious that they've panned out much further and emphasized the snow. It just makes me think, like, what if they are bringing back this cut level? And if so, is it going to be part of the story, or is this some sort of like post-game area? Either way, an entirely new area in Demon's Souls could be absolutely huge for a remake. So this could just be a more elaborate shot, but I hope it's hinting towards that area coming back. But I do want to talk about the vibe just a little bit more, because on PlayStation 5, the Tower Knight is undoubtedly more vibrant and more colourful. There's a lot more going on. It's less bleak, it's less oppressive, but I don't think this reflects the entire game, because shots directly after this, if anything, are more gothic on PlayStation 5. Like, look at this one right here, it's so much darker. So I wouldn't jump to the conclusion that they're breaking the game's atmosphere. I think this is just a very deliberate change of art style for this specific boss. Now, one last thing I want to do is compare the music, because this is a major overhaul. Here's the original PlayStation 3 version. And here it is on PlayStation 5. Wow, right? What a jump in quality. So it seems in addition to visuals, we should also expect an entirely new soundtrack and sound effects, and honestly, I'm expecting pretty much new everything. This isn't built on the same engine as the original Demon's Souls, so everything is built from scratch, and hopefully things handle a bit more in line with Dark Souls, because while Demon's Souls is still very good, there's definitely quality of life improvements this game can learn, especially with control. But what do you guys think about the Demon's Souls remake? Let us know in the comments below, and of course be sure to subscribe to Game Explain for a lot more on Demon's Souls and other things gaming too. Until next time, bye!